Hi, I'm Tracie with Freckled Fairy Upcycled. Welcome to my channel. This is a place where I create wearable art from thrifted, vintage, or other textiles. I hope you enjoy. I found this awesome flannel shirt from a thrift store, and I just love the colors in it. Blue, I love blue. It looks good on me. So that, and I'm gonna do some sort of like ruffle situation. So I wanna keep it in the flannel family. So I had in my collection this flannel sheet, and I think I'm gonna do that. I know it's different plaids, but you know what? I don't care. I love mixing patterns together. And you know, it has a light blue, it has a brown, so it, you know, they like each other, let's just say. Then I have this, it's a pillow cover. So when I buy pillows from thrift stores or wherever, I always rip out the inside so I can wash the cover. So this is, it's got this embroidered bird on it. So I'll probably cut that out and sew that on. Now this was an amazing find I got at this Market Days. It's a vintage fun Market Days thing. It was in a frame. The frame was gross. This was really gross. It was so stained, but I just fell in love with it. It has beaded flowers. You know, someone worked really hard on this. Embroidered, hand embroidered flowers. It's got this border. And then it has, it's hard for you guys to see, but it has this embroidered saying on it. And it says, "There is only one joy, to love and be loved." So I had to get it. And it's on this beautiful linen. So this will go on the back, and love it. And then, I know you're gonna think I'm crazy, and I don't even know if I'm gonna use them. I might use something else, I can't decide. But I have these leather pants that I got actually at Goodwill bins that I'm thinking about using the leather off of that to just to do some trim, some piping or something. I don't know what the black, we'll see how it goes. And then I have these table scarves. And I usually with these will use the embroidered part. I'll cut that out and use that in a design. But I think I may cut off this lace because it's a nice width and the color looks good with everything. So I think I'm going to use that. I may use some flowers too. So these flowers are actually vintage images. They're public domain images that I found and got, and then kind of zhushed them a little bit and then had them printed. It's on this nice thick cotton twill. And these are actually on my website, freckledfairyupcycled.com. So if you're interested, go over there and buy you some. But I think if I do use these, I can't decide until I get everything laid out and everything. I will probably tea dye these to take down the white. It's just a little too, and even the colors, just to take it down just a little bit. So to get started, I put on the shirt so I can kind of see where I want it to be. So what I like in the shirts I've made, my good length that I like is 27 inches. So I'll probably cut this a little shorter because I'm going to have a lace, not a lace, a ruffle on the bottom. So I'll figure that out in a little bit. And then I will cut the sleeves as well because I prefer kind of a 3/4 sleeve, but that's just my preference. You can do yours however long or short that you like. So what I'm going to start off doing is I'm going to get my seam ripper and take off the pocket and also take off this collar. On, and it looks pretty good, but it's too sharp. So I am going to just put the two sides together like this. If you want, you can pin it or clip it. I think I'm just going to clip it so I don't stick myself. And then I'm going to just use my chalk and draw an arc because I want, instead of it being pointy, I want it to be more rounded. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut these together. Make sure they are lined up. Okay, so now it has a rounded neck. I like that better. Once you figure out how long you want it in the front, I cut mine about 17 inches because I'm going to have a ruffle. I'm going to start about an inch under the button at the bottom, and I'm just going to kind of mark that. And then from this side, I'm going to measure, let's see how far I've done this. I've done this about 5.5 inches. And then around the back, about in the middle or so, we're going to go up about 4 inches. And mark that. And then I drew a curve, just freehanded, a curve until I got to the 5.5 mark. And then I did it a little straight there, and then started the curve again down to the 4-inch mark. So I'm going to cut out this side first, and then I will fold it over and use it as a pattern to cut out the other side. Here is an option for the neckline. I kind of changed my mind on how I was going to do mine. You could leave it to open just like this, but I think I'm going to cut mine open. So lay it out flat. I made sure that it's even. I came down about, I think, 4 inches from this fold and made a mark. And then I came up about an inch from my top button. And then I'm going to go from that mark to the edge of this mark and draw a line. Oops. My goodness. And then I'm going to cut that and just do it to the other side. Now we need to make a pattern for the collar. I want kind of a rounded collar. So what I've done is I folded it in half, the shirt, and I'm going to measure, actually I'm just going to lay it down on a piece of craft paper. I like to use craft paper because it's sturdy enough to last if you want to use it again, and if you just want to recycle it, it's easily recycled. Okay, then I'm gonna just kind of freehand the curve. So at the bottom, it's gonna be narrower and then get wider as it goes up. And then I will just cut that out, make sure I'm using my paper scissors, not my fabric scissors. So with your pattern, if you're going to cut this on the fold, you can cut across here. You don't need that extra ½ inch. But if you are going to do like, maybe you're going to do 2 different kinds of fabric, then you will want that because you'll sew it together. So I'm just going to cut this off, and then I'll be ready to cut out the fabric. When planning the back, I went ahead and just laid the collar down so I can get an idea where it's gonna be. It's gonna have a bit of a ruffle, so let's say about here is where the fabrics are all gonna end. So I've ironed this pleat down, and no, there we go. And then I have this. So I'm going to fold this guy in half to find the center. And just, you can put a pin there, you can just kind of put a little press with your fingers. And I'm going to figure out where I'm going to start it. I don't want it too far down because it'll hit the hem where the other ruffle's going to go. So probably we'll start it right about there. And I put the folded part right here on this pleat to find the center. And I'll do it at the bottom as well, and then do a wide zigzag all the way around the perimeter. Before I sew the piece on the back of the shirt, I went ahead and did a wide zigzag down that pleat that's in the back so it doesn't bunge up after that piece is sewn on top. So here's the back and the front. And then I did put the heart on my sleeve. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is I have this vintage lace that was around like a table scarf or table runner or something. And this is the one that I tea-dyed. And I'm going to just stitch it down the side with the buttonholes. And I'm just going to stitch it on this side. And so when it's buttoned, it will actually hide the buttons. It'll just have this little lace running down the. So I luckily found a really great plaid to go as my ruffle for this shirt. I went to a new thrift store and there she was. Some people don't like mixed patterns. I am someone who absolutely loves mixed patterns. So if you want to do yours plain, do yours plain. But this is what it's going to look like. I'm going to love it. This is going to be the ruffle. And then we've got this as the collar, which the ruffle will be there. I have a vision. Once I get it done, you'll see the vision. But I like how it has kind of the reddish stripe in this one. And it has a similar kind of khaki color and beige that's in this one. I think it ties both the fabrics together. And then I'll probably add an accent of the black to kind of tie this beauty in. And I think it's gonna look fantastic and I'm really excited. So next stop is going to be the collar. So I decided to go ahead and do a light interface on one side of the collar. So interfacing is this stuff that'll help give a little bit of body to your fabric and keep it from getting too kind of smushy, I guess. So I did a lightweight one. So on one side, there are these little glue dots, and then the other side is smooth. So you wanna make sure that you put your fabric wrong side down, and then I cover it with some parchment paper, and then you want your iron set to high heat, and you hold it down for like, I don't know, a count of 10, a count of 12, and then you lift it up. You don't go back and forth with it. You just do it like that, and you do it all over, and then you cut it out, and then you can sew with it. So the collar is interfaced, and I did decide to use the leather pants to make just a little trim. So I will cut the leg open and cut out a strip to go along with that. And then I will make a little ruffle to go along the edge. I don't want one that's too big. Okay, so I have the ruffle sewn. On the ends, I put the right sides together and sewed a stitch, and now I'm going to turn it out. So this will be your end of your ruffle. So at this point, you can iron it. I am not, because I kind of want it to leave it kind of like a puffy ruffle. But if you want a cleaner finish, go ahead and iron the edge before you start ruffling. And the way I do it is, as I'm sewing, I'll do it this way. I just fold it and sew around the collar. I'm gonna go ahead and sew it on the collar like I did the leather. And then, because that'll keep it in place. And then I can put the other piece on there. So you're gonna want to, when you're doing it, you're gonna want to put the ruffle along the edge of it like this, because then after it's sewn, it'll turn out and you'll have this cute little trim. I love the way this is turning out. Look how cute this is. You know, if you don't have leather, you can always just use a piece of fabric. With it being this small, you don't really need piping in it unless you just want to put it in there. So next, I am going to put the back on. So right sides together. But what is good to do is to pin back your end ruffles so that it doesn't get, you know, if you do it flat, then it'll be on the inside, which is not what you want. And then I also go around, I open it up and make sure there's nothing wonky going on, because it's easier to fix before you put the back on. So check that. And then I will probably also just pin a few on the inside of the ruffles down. I guess you can do it on the outside too, either way, just to keep them in place from moving around and getting in the way. So here we go. The collar, I think, looks fantastic. I love these plaids all together. I love how they look with the appliques and the lace, and the placement on the back is perfection. So now we are going to do the bottom. And what I'm going to do is go back to my sheet, and I measured kind of where I wanted it, like how long I wanted my ruffle, by determining how long I want my shirt. If you try it on, then you can kind of figure out how long you want your ruffle. And then I'm going to use the edge of the sheet as the bottom, because then I don't have to hem it. So I want about an 8-inch ruffle, and I use about a half inch seam allowance. So I'll cut this 8.5. I'm going to measure on the bottom of the shirt to see how long how wide I need it. So roughly twice, give or take, because I'm just going to do the hand ruffling again as I sew around the bottom. Okay, so the ruffle is on. I think it looks fantastic. I'm very happy with the way it's turning out. So all I have to do is address the sleeves now, and I'm just going to use the leather just to tie it in. So I'm going to cut about a 2-inch wide piece of leather and then just sew that to the bottom of the sleeves, and I'll be done. Don't forget to subscribe and like my video, and make sure you follow along for more DIY upcycle ideas. Also, I'd love to see your creations. Follow me on social media at Freckled Fairy Upcycled, and tag me in your photos and videos so I can see what you're up to. My channels are on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I hope to see you there.